All right, one thing, this is kind of related to the law of sines, but not really, but books like to throw it in with the law of sines section because it's very useful. We can find the area of an oblique triangle if we have two sides and the angle in between them, okay? So here's the equation. 1/2 BC sine of alpha, or AC sine of beta, or AB sine of gamma. All of this means if you have two sides and the angle in between them, you can just use these equations. Okay, so here's where they come from, just briefly. So if we have a triangle like this, the area is just 1/2 base times height, which we know, and base, if we know, so in this case, we're assuming that we know sides B and C and angle A. Okay, so we know these three things. We know B and C and angle A. So the base we could say is B, and the height is going to be, well, we could say sine of alpha is going to be H over C. So H is C times sine of alpha. It's a little bit more complicated if it's outside, if we have to drop the height outside of the triangle. In this case, we know C, we know B, and we know alpha. Okay, so the area of the triangle is still 1/2 base times height. Okay, so what is our height here? Well, our height is C times sine of alpha. This is why. So we could say sine of A alpha prime equals H over C. So one thing to notice, this is an interesting quirk. Alpha prime is 180 minus alpha, right? Think about a sine graph. Sine of alpha is the same thing as sine of 180 minus alpha. Okay, so we can replace this because of the way the sine graph works. Think about it. If it doesn't make sense, it's not that important. This equation is going to work. So really, we'd say sine of alpha prime equals H over C, but that's the same as sine of alpha equals H over C. So we can still replace it with this equation here. Okay, so if we know two sides, B and C, and an angle in between them, we can use this equation, right? Or any of these three equations. It's the two sides times the sine of the angle in between them. So let's just do an example to find this. Find the area of a triangle with sides A is 90, B is 52, and angle gamma is between them. This is 102 degrees. So without using this equation, we can still find this, but it would take more work, and I'd have to use trig identities or trig ratios. Now we can just straight up say the area is 1/2. We've got a side, and the angle in between. So it's 1/2 times one side times the other side times sine of 102. And that's it. Now we put in our calculator. So 0.5 times 90 times 52 times sine of 102. Ta-da. That seems big. Is that right? Yeah, that's big. That's the right answer. 2,289 square units. Okay. That's it. So it's pretty straightforward. You can use this if you have a side, and an angle in between. Okay, it's just going to be the two sides times the sine of that angle times 1/2.